So one of the biggest things that has happened to me in all of this is the loss of my dad. And if you know me, you know I've been a daddy's girl all my life. I would often say I'm a daddy's girl who needs her mother. Because I really need my mother, right? But I'm definitely a daddy's girl. We just had a different connection. We had a different bond. And a big part of who I am today is because of him. A big part of me being an entrepreneur is because of him. I was working in his business from like 8 years old. I was doing his books, writing up his invoices, that type of stuff, listening to how he made decisions, listening to him on calls, listening to him negotiate, listening to him lead his teams. I remember days going with him to Royal Westmoreland, so I knew a lot of his men, his workers. He's been a big part of my life. A lot of my hobbies are also very similar to him. He also played volleyball. I played volleyball. He was in a pool club. He taught me to play pool like from age 9 or 10. So I know how to do band shots. I know how to control the cue ball. Everything, right? Yeah, I'm his through and through. I even look like him. So losing him was a big deal. I felt gutted. But the thing about it is that my relationship with God is so strong and God cares so much for me that God told me that I was going to lose my dad. It was a Monday, I was in the shower, and I often talk to God in the shower, even outside of my quiet time. It's just, I don't know. He meets me there with a lot of creative stuff or a lot of revelations. And I was in the shower and God said, it's time for daddy. And I want you to stick to the plan. Now, by the plan, he meant because I was just, I had just booked a ticket. I was going to the Caribbean Investment Forum in Jamaica, and then I was going to pop over to Atlanta to attend Woman Evolve. So that dropped into my spirit on Monday. I didn't pay much attention to it. I broke down in tears because I'm like, I am not ready. And he said, you'll be ready when it's time, right? And on Wednesday was that I am going to college right now. That was the avenue that we took to transition. I actually just completed, um, made the dean's list all year. Forgot to mention that as some of the wins that happened this year. A lot has been happening. Um, but I was at school and I remember that day I just felt something just felt off, but I was just focused on the presentation that I had to make. And when I got home, I saw the missed calls, and when I got home, my husband didn't look quite the same. It's like he was trying to tell me, like, find the words to tell me something. But before he can speak to me, I called back. I called back my mom because I had missed her calls, and I just wanted to make sure she was fine. And I was wondering why aren't you calling me on video call? You usually video call me. And then she said, because I'm at the hospital with your dad. My heart sunk because in that moment, the first thing I remembered was God said to me, it's time. So at that point, I'm gathering information, understanding what's going on, trying to figure out, okay, how does he look? Is it, what do you think? Is it something he's coming back from? Because my mom, she worked at the hospital for many years. So I'm just asking these questions and trying not to get frustrated at the fact that he wasn't seen as yet, being there for hours. That I don't want to misspeak, right? And I know that there is a lot of work that is being actively done right now to really improve the service delivery of healthcare in Barbados. And I look forward to seeing that work come to fruition because I do know that a lot of great things are happening and it will take time. That moment for me was so frustrating. Not only from a place of wanting my dad to get exceptional care, and I kept saying to her, okay, let's go, let's move to private, let's move to private. And, you know, but I was giving it some time as well. I didn't want to be too aggressive because I know what God had also said. But why it was also frustrating is because she has dedicated her life. She worked for, I feel like it was over 20 years, so many years, over decades. And she was feeling terrible about how she was being treated. And it was hurtful for me. And I'm also very far away. I'm miles away, right? Anyway, that happened. By Thursday, I was having headaches. I could not move. I had my community praying. I just couldn't find the words. But God stayed close and He kept reminding me, this is what I said to you. This is the time. Then I was getting different revelations. My dad had a stroke in July of 2018. And here we are, July 24th, again, and it's completion 7 years later. So God kept showing me, He kept feeding me the little pieces, the little nuggets to reaffirm and reassure me, this is what I said to you. I need you to get prepared. So I took my time to cry it out that day, was having headaches and, pray it out and that type of stuff. And then on Friday morning, I woke up and I prayed and I said, okay, God, I'm ready to accept. What would you have me do? And He said, book a ticket. And I booked my ticket and I flew home the following day, my husband and I, this Saturday. And I saw my dad and I looked at him and I knew that I did not want that to be his life because that was never him. He had never been ill other than when he had his first stroke in 2018, July, right before my wedding. And he bounced back in like a couple of weeks and was able to walk me down the aisle, right? Halfway down the aisle. So I know that I didn't want that for him. I didn't want him in that pain. I didn't want him in agony. And I held his hand. And I remember God had said to me before I got there that He needs me to be the person to transition him. My father, before he died, he would call me his angel. And I felt like that was prophetic. And that is what God was asking me to do, transition him. So I held his hand and I sang to him. And I prayed and I said, it's okay. Trying to make it through this episode without crying. But it's coming. But anyway, it is what it is. So I said it's okay. I sang to him. He always liked to hear me singing. And I sang to him. And I remember he was holding my hand. And to this day, I sometimes replay, did I release his hand too soon? So, but he was holding on to my hand tightly. His eyes weren't open. But I do remember when he heard me sing, and when I touched his forehead and I said, it's okay. He had a tear. A tear literally came out the corner of his eye. And that broke me, right? And I was like, oh, okay. So he could hear me, he could understand. So that happened. And by the Sunday morning, my mom woke me up and said, they just called, daddy's gone. So, life happens. Like, you are going to live and you're going to die. We're not all going to be here forever. And I had to come to grips with that. And persons often, they look at me and they're like, you carry so much strength. You carry so much grace. But I'm just carrying God. I'm carrying the Holy Spirit. Like, for that week, so daddy died on the Sunday. I was on the plane on Tuesday because God said to me, stick to the plan. And because I was on the plane on Tuesday and I was at the Caribbean Investment Forum and then Women Evolve, I had the time for myself to grieve with myself. So many people love you. So many people love me. And I love that for me, by the way, that so many people cherish and love me and want to be there to support. But I needed to be removed from that so I can process what I was feeling. So a lot of things came out of that week. Business opportunities came out of that week. When I went to Woman Evolve, a release came out of that week. And I was able to come back and then, plan his funeral and provide the support. And that was necessary for my mom after they were together for like over 30 years, right? So in that process, I remember talking to a friend and asking him, how on earth did you stay focused? Because he's also very ambitious, made to multiple businesses. How did you continue after losing your dad? Him and his brother had just lost their dad. And he took the time to share with me certain things. And I remember saying to God, I do not want to stay down long. I'm going to process this with you, but then we have to get back on track. I have to honor my father's legacy. I have to honor you. And guess what? Right now, he has the perfect view to see me do everything that I said that I was going to do. So that is where it came in. Did I stop? I paused. Yes. I felt like for the month, I did a couple things that I could do that I felt comfortable doing where I didn't have to engage. I showed up on camera sometimes, but I took my time with it. And I'm realizing too that if I was in corporate, I would never have had that opportunity because we have to do better in corporate. We have to do better than giving persons 3 days bereavement leave. This is couple months later and I'm still grieving. I'm still hurting. Am I stuck in it? No. But of course I miss him. I'm home for the first time and he's not here. Of course I miss him. Yeah. But I think that it goes back to what we choose to be. You can choose to either be a victim and let life happen to you, or you can choose to carry glory in your grief. And I choose to carry glory and not gloom. I choose to still show up and impact people. I choose to still build my business. I choose to still love, right? Many things I've experienced in that. People that I expected to be closer to me that were far removed. People that I expected to attend the funeral. And the reason that I stayed close to myself and close to God is because I didn't want to respond out of emotion. Because I know what I was feeling towards that absence. I know what I was feeling towards those expectations that were unmet. And I did not want to reflect that or project that onto anyone. So I stayed close to God. I I have never been this vulnerable with God in my life. I've always been vulnerable with him, but grief is a next level vulnerability. I called names. I said, this is what I expected from this. This is what I expected from this. This has hurt me. This is that. And each time I speak to God about it, he gave me a comfort. He gave me a different perspective to help me grow in maturity, even in that process. But grief is not something you can imagine and try to help someone with. And sometimes grief is something you just gotta experience. And I'm grateful that I have clients that understood what I was going through and gave me my space to grieve and gave me my space to show up at my pace because I've built a relationship and built enough credibility with them to do so. I wouldn't have done this without the clients that I have today. This year would not have been what it is without the clients that I have today and without my community, without God, without my husband, without family. That has been an experience and I'm still experiencing it. I was saying to a friend, I saw her go on stage at church on Sunday and I immediately was brought to tears. There's an anxiety that I now carry, not daily, but it shows up sometimes around death and not wanting to experience that pain that I experienced before. But God quickly corrects it with love. I experienced that pain because I was able to love deeply. So I will look at friends, family, and the slightest cough, and I'm like anxious, you know. I pray that they're okay. I just, I said to God, I can't take another one this year. There are a lot of things that come out of grief. Does that mean that I don't show up in my business or that I don't console persons that are grieving or that I don't show up for someone else at their loved one's funeral? No, I refuse to allow grief to make me self-focused or self-centered. I still want to show up how God expects me to show up on a daily basis. There are a couple things that I wrote down as I was navigating grief. One of the hardest things in grief is realizing that you need help and asking for that help, especially if you've always been the person to get it done on your own. Things I prayed for while grieving was my heart, my mind, my body, my will, and the willpower. It's like my brain knows you're gone, but I randomly feel shock reminders in my body. God, help me to restrict access because of discernment and not because of pain or offense. My tears are me loving you out loud. Many things, and I've had a great support system, Dr. J. You know, I'm a blessed girl, blessed woman. God has really placed people in my life for a season, for a reason, or for a lifetime. And I really hope that what I've shared in this process, in this grieving process, if you are experiencing it, stay close to God and make a decision that you carry glory and not gloom. Because what happens to you in this life isn't really happening to you. Yeah? In some instances, it's happening either for you and it's happening through you. But don't sit back and become a victim of any experience that you've had. Own it. Own your lane. Own your emotion. Own your experiences. Take it to God and ask Him to build you, to teach you what you need to learn from it so that you can continue to grow from strength to strength, from leaps to leap, from faith to faith. So you can make those faith moves that gets you into alignment with the purpose that God has for your life.